Today, we're going to be talking about how to analyze the lobby and make a game plan. Sounds like a pretty broad topic, but I promise I'm going to have some insights for you, some of which you maybe were already aware of, but just hammering home some key points, things that are important when you get into a game, because you can easily find yourself in awkward situations playing TFT, and our goal is to try to avoid that and go for the most consistent game plan you can possibly have every game. So first, a little bit about me for people who don't know me yet. I'm Kevin Parker. I'm 25 years old from Germany. I've been playing Challenger since set one, reached Challenger right away in set one and every set since. At first, I was mostly playing casual or casually, and in set six, I finally started participating in tournaments and streaming as well. A lot of my friends like urged me to start streaming and play tournaments and take it more seriously. So shout out to them because that's why I'm here now. Yeah, there's just some of my competitive successes. I played regional finals 4 times, made final lobby twice. There was obviously the Vegas Open, which some of you might have watched, where I went second place. I went to Worlds in set 13 for the first time and only time so far, unfortunately, but next time is coming, surely. I've been coaching since about set 8, and that is also when I created a TFT course about fundamentals, like just very basic understanding of the game for beginners, basically. It was for a German company called Players Hub that does like coaching courses for League of Legends as well. And yeah, so I have a bit of history with coaching and teaching TFT. And on top of that, I'm also a Twitch and League partner. Not there to impress you, just yeah, just letting you know a couple of fun facts about me. And I'm also currently rank 3 at almost 1.2k LP on the EUS server. Let's start with today's topic. So basically, this is how I think you should be approaching every game. It's like, uh, yeah, we'll get into it. We'll get into the specifics later. Like, I just wanted to put out some broad statements at the start. So in phase one, first of all, you should be checking the tools you have this game. The way ICTFT is, you have like different tools every game that you are offered. You have unit drops, you have item components, you have an augment choice to make. You have a different Stargazer variation, and you have different psionic items every game. What you obviously usually want to be doing is holding pairs, holding units that think will play towards your strongest board in stage 2. And if you can't do that, if you think your opener is not going to be strong regardless, uh, you should try to loss streak. But we will, as I said, we will get into that later. So once you have assessed your own situation, your pairs, maybe potential upgrades already, trade webs that you can play around, you should be looking at other people's boards and what units they got dropped. Specifically, look out for reroll lines. Like for example, if someone has a Briar 2 and another Briar 1 on their board, you can be pretty safe to assume that they're going to be playing Primordian. So what also matters when you look at the other players' comps in the lobby is their item components, because oftentimes comps that people are trying to go for just aren't really supported by the items they have. Like for example, if you're trying to play an AD comp and you have like Rod tier at the start, you should probably be playing something else, or at least considering it or trying to get into something else. So uh, yeah, just because people have like whatever units on their board, especially when it comes to stuff like Primordian, which generates econ, you can never be too sure what they're going to play. In high elo, lots of players just call their reroll comp at 2-1 if they do play reroll. So I guess that's something you can look out for. Depending on what elo you're in, it might be less in your elo. But yeah, and then the third phase is the evaluation part, where you have to think about how the tempo of the lobby is going to shape out. Like, who is going to re-roll, when are the players going to roll. Like for example, one cost reroll spikes around like late stage 3, 3-5, sometimes even 3-1 if they have a lot of copies of a specific one cost. 3 cost reroll, for example, usually spikes in 3-5, and later, like towards the late end of stage 4, when they get their 3 stars. Whereas 4 cost comp obviously spike in 4-2 or sometimes 4-1. And you should be trying to find a way to like match the tempo of the lobby. If you're not strong when the re-rollers are strong, you should at least be strong when the 4 cost players are strong, etc. But yeah, we will get into the specifics of that in the next couple of slides. So I put out some general rules here is what I called it. The general rules of lobby tempo. So some of these might be self-explanatory, but maybe some of these you don't think about that hard every game. So if the lobby tempo is high and you think you can play, yeah, you can't play for a win streak because people have multiple upgrades, they have good trades to play, they have good items to slam. Maybe you don't have a good item to slam. You got say 6 gold from your blue orb and no units, so it's going to be really hard to play for tempo. That is when you should try to go for a 5-loss streak. Some players that I've coached over the years are were kind of scared to go for 5-loss streak because they don't really know how to stabilize in the mid game and how to convert an early loss streak game into a top 4. But it basically all just comes down to like patch knowledge and knowing which comps stabilize the easiest. Usually, especially 4-cost comps, which 4-cost comps are the best default lines. We will also get into that later in the second part of the session. Yeah, and then on the other hand, of course, if the lobby tempo is low, like for example last patch, there were lots of games where people were just basically full open trying to play Primordian or Timebreaker for Econ and then roll in 3-1 and put Anima in to get their 300 cash. I think that playstyle is not as prevalent anymore this patch, but yeah, last patch that was very, very popular. So what I did last patch, how I climbed, is I just played for my best opener every game. And then when I saw people were, open forwarding, the tempo augments become really, really good. Like Epoch, Silver Spoon, Lunch Money even. There are a lot of good augments that make you basically abuse the fact that the lobby tempo is low. And if you go with high HP into stage 4, your chances of top 4ing are going to be higher than if you're low HP. That's kind of a no-brainer. But yeah. So 2 other things are you should always try to play a comp that people are going to help you hit. What that means is that there's a shared pool for every unit cost, right? So if many people buy out 1 costs, that means 1 cost reroll is automatically better for you. If there are multiple 2 cost rerollers, 2 costs are better. If the whole lobby is almost 4 cost players, then you should also be playing 4 cost. That's just a general rule of thumb to reach the most consistent results. Obviously, you can't always do that. You just have to play with what you're given. You can't just ignore a good reroll spot because most people seem to be playing around 4 costs. But yeah, it's just like if you see, for example, in one of the new regions, the one that gives you 8 rerolls at the start, you should always try to reroll because in that region, the people with rerolls are going to have the best chances of top 4ing. That's just how the region works. But we'll also get into the new encounters. Sorry, encounters, not regions, later. So that means if you play for example, if you're a forecast player and there's only one more forecast player, that means it's going to be way, way harder to hit your upgrades because if they're, if most of the lobby is rerolling, no one's playing forecasts, then there's going to be a lot more forecasts in the pool. So you are going to see all of the forecasts that you don't want as well. So it's going to make it, first of all, harder to hit. So you're going to need good econ to hit still. And you're also going to need a good setup so you can actually stabilize more easily. Like a triple combat setup, for example, would be very nice, but you still have to ensure that you have the econ to actually hit. So yeah, lots of these things are about econ. So the last point is just if you don't have econ through either streak or augment, which I think you should always try to get if you can. You have to like play econ traits. Timebreaker are great holds right now. Primordian are great holds. Stargazer, when it's the gold farm one, can play well into tempo as well. I think it's the boar. Yeah, the boar is what it's called. Um, yeah, so econ is the most important part of the game. It drives the entire dynamic of the lobby, and if you can get ahead in econ, then you are also going to get ahead in tempo. Yeah. All right. A lot of or some common mistakes that people make, even I myself or other good pro players make from time to time, is leveling at 2-1 just to mix streak. So sometimes it happens because you pick your augment late and you think you can play for tempo and you don't scout before leveling at 2-1. And that can be really detrimental to your game because if you level at 2-1, win the first round or lose the first round, win the second round and then lose the third round again, your econ is already going to suffer from that. Ideally, I would try to make 10 as soon as possible. With so much reroll being in the meta right now as well, there's like usually people don't push level 4 that often into 1. So even if you have a tempo spot, I would usually recommend not leveling at 2-1 just because you will usually win anyways if your opener is strong. And yeah, it's like if you mix streak after leveling at 2-1, your econ is going to take a really, really big hit. And yeah, that is going to make your game a lot harder. So I would always wait. Like if you win 2-1 after not leveling, you can consider leveling at 2-2 if you think you can win the second round and try to build up a streak. Um, but yeah, you can't force a streak, so you have to be actually sure that you can get there before you just mindlessly press level. So the second point is committing to a comp before scouting. I think everyone has made that mistake before. They like commit to a reroll comp, for example, and then they look around and someone has worth the weight one of your units that you're trying to reroll. That is obviously really bad. So the best thing you can do is try to pick your augment as late as possible because the more information you have about the lobby, the better. Um, like if people were already angling a certain line and they pick their augment early, you can probably figure out what they're playing, and ideally you have as much information about the lobby as you can possibly have before picking your augment. Because it tells you whether you need tempo, whether you should just go econ because you can't match the tempo in stage 2, or all sorts of different stuff. Everything's situational in TFT. So third is not taking econ when you need it. I often make like this mistake myself as well. When you're playing a forecast line, you almost always need one econ augment. Exceptions are like high econ opener plus like decent streak early game, not necessarily like a full win streak, but yeah, you are going to need money from somewhere. So if you don't have money from, let's say, gods or opener or your augments, you're going to need extra econ from somewhere, especially this set where there's like multiple econ engines. Even though Timebreaker is harder to enable now than last patch, that's still the case. So yeah, especially like prismatic or econ silver augments are very, very good. There's like the 12 gold plus flip a coin one that can give you 16 gold for a silver augment, which is pretty good. Missed connections. There's I think there's one more econ silver augment that I just forgot. But anyways, it's like you should always try to have one econ augment if you are playing around forecasts. If you're playing reroll, you don't always need it, especially like low cost reroll. When you're playing 3-cost reroll, I would say that you do need it most of the time. 3-cost reroll is very expensive, so like if you're playing rogues, for example, or 2 tanky or in Samira, you're usually going to need an econ augment unless you somehow streak early game. So yeah, for those comps, it's also very good to lost streak early. Yeah, so another mistake is flipping your augment when you have a solid or a consistent option to take. Well, what that means is, like for example, at 2-1, clicking branching out over an augment that gives you good tempo, let's say slightly magic roll. That's one of the best silvers in the game, I would say. You can't really low roll taking that augment. I think every outcome is good. Even the combat one is good for a silver. So branching out is obviously a bit flippy. It can make or break your game. You can get, one of the best emblems in the game, Space Groove Nova, stuff like that. Or you can get like an anima emblem, for example, that you can't do anything with, and you don't get a reforger at neutrals anymore if you're in the bottom two. So that is going to be risky to take. So if you have a better option, you should just go for that. Another mistake people often make is making the wrong item slam at 2-1. A good example for that is if you're playing AP and your starting components are tier BF Rod, you're going to always want to make a Shojin if you're playing around a caster, that is. Because if you make an Archangel, you're playing around BF Sword, and BF Sword only really makes like 2 good items in an AP line, which are Shojin and Giant Slayer. So that's why you should make Shojin first, so you have that covered, because Rod builds into a ton of other good AP items that you can make, right? Like Morello, Jewel Gauntlets, Rabadons, Archangel, etc., etc. So item economy is very important. If you should always try to kill bad components in the line that you play and save up the components that you need for your main item. You should always know what your like main 1 or 2 items are in whatever comp you're playing. And the last point is not or actually there's 2 last points. Committing to a comp that your items don't support. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, like for example, if you have tier Rod, you're not going to want to play an AD comp usually. And yeah, the last point is not putting high prio on utility. I oftentimes see people that like burn anti-heal components or shred components or thunder components in the mid game for like mediocre carry items, which can sometimes be okay if you think you are still going to get enough items to make utility. But I do think that yeah, the shred or thunder, if whether you're playing AD or AP, is like the most important part to have. It's like a big damage increase on your carry, and in a meta with like big frontliners like Leona 3, for example, Leona 3 is like your biggest nightmare if you don't have Shred or Thunder. You are not going to break frontline. Like it's a very front to back set. Almost every comp is about like breaking the front line as fast as possible. And for that, you're going to need anti-heal and Shred or Thunder. So if you can, I would usually try to finish that early, like as early as possible. Like an early Void Staff Slam for AP is very, very good, for example. Um, or even Last Whisper or even Shroud if you're playing AD, unless you're playing Aatrox on your board, of course. That's always the thing you have to think about. Am I playing Aatrox or not? Um, but yeah, utility is important. All right, so the next topic is how to make your game easier. Um, just wanted to write some things down that can make sure that you actually play a consistent line. And yeah, point one for that is you should pick augments that give you direction. I mean, probably a lot of you do that already, anyways. But or augments that give you direction are, for example, emblems, items, units, or even BIS combat for a specific comp. Like last patch, for example, you could play solo. You could take solo plate at 2-1 and full loss streak into mech. I guess you could probably still do that this patch. I just don't. I'm just not sure how good mech actually is without anima because it was kind of getting carried by anima last patch. But yeah, we'll talk about the comps in the second part. Um, but yeah, you should be taking an augment that gives you some sort of direction, unless you already have direction from your opener, right? Like if you have like a Kai'Sa pair with AD items, you're probably going to be playing around that Kai'Sa. You don't need to take an augment that gives you direction. Then you can just take an item augment that makes you stronger. Um, yeah, which goes into the third point that I wrote down here. If you think you can streak, take the augment that makes you the strongest. Don't always click an item or an emblem or artifact augment if you have a solid option to take. That feeds into the point I was talking about earlier. Um, and yeah, as I said earlier as well, if you don't have an opener, your best play to make is to just open fort. Um, you shouldn't be scared to do this. If you don't have a lot of experience doing this, you should probably try it out or get used to it because it's a part of the game. Sometimes you just don't really have an opener, and if you're going to try to save HP from a bad opener when the lobby tempo is high, and you don't 5 loss, you are going to have a very bad time for the rest of the game. So if you get, for example, a gold orb with only 6 gold, no units in it, and you have no upgrades from your early shops, just open for it. Just take any econ or like reroll augment or yeah, any good augments that you find and open and try to stabilize your board at 3-2. Which sometimes you can easily do with augments like restart mission or Summify, for example. So that there are always some outs. I think Cosmic Restart was removed this patch, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Um, yeah, so you should try to avoid augments that tend to bring you into awkward situations. I wrote down a couple examples here, like risky moves, we stick together, Exalted Adventure. Exalted Adventure can just be really awkward if you get a unit that someone else is also going to reroll, like Primordian units, for example, or Akali. We stick together can give you a really bad emblem, and then you are forced to play a comp around that emblem. What I did once is I picked that augment and I got Anima emblem, and then the only thing you can do is play Anima reroll, which I don't think you're going to want to do. So um, obviously there's also a lot of good emblems, but there's also some low rolls. So uh, just know that if you're picking augments like this, it's a very very high risk and sometimes not even that high of a reward. Like Exalted Adventurer, I think is pretty hard to play. That there are some weird combinations where and then you have to play some like janky board that you usually wouldn't. Risky moves you can pick if your opener is very strong. Like if you are certain that you're going to win streak, I think risky moves is actually pretty good. But if you're going to like mixed streak and maybe lose to like 10 to 15 HP stage 2, that means you're already going into stage 3 with 30 or 35 HP less, which is quite a lot. I think sometimes you can probably justify it in Soraka God game, but yeah, everything's situational. As I said, it's TFT. So yeah, just trying to hammer home the point of your streak gold. You should try to maximize your streak gold as hard as possible every game. It's like one of the most important parts of setting up your game is how are you going to streak. Uh, what you can do, for example, is go for 8 losses and then level at 3-5 and roll a couple times. Maybe if you have reroll free rerolls from an augment or timebreaker, for example, you can use the free rerolls in the mid game to stabilize your board. I've done that many times this set, and it's worked a lot of times. It doesn't always work, but you know, if you have pairs, obviously you shouldn't be like using all your free rerolls if you don't have any pairs or anything to hit. But if you do, then there's nothing wrong with doing that. And the last point of the slide is you should have 1 or 2 default comps every patch if you don't have any direction. For me, this patch, those 2 default comps are Corki and Master Yi. We're going to get into the new patch later, so we can talk about those comps. But yeah, those are like the 2 default comps for me this patch that I think you can always play. It only depends on items, but every comp depends on items. So yeah, you should always try to like find 1 or 2 comps like that where you know that you can play them if you don't have any specific conditions at 2-1. Right, there's a couple like mental exercises you can do to try to figure out how to play for your highest placement in any game. That there's like these are like questions you should be asking yourself in your head, basically. So what do I need to top for example? If your spot is like mid or bad, you're going to have to think about, okay, what augment bails me out? How well do I need to hit to stabilize hard enough? Like do I need to make it to 9 for my comp to be actually good? Do I need to have every forecast upgraded at 4-2 or I'm not going to win rounds? You know, there's like all sorts of different conditions that can affect the way you think about these questions. So like not every game you can win, obviously. We all know that. Like sometimes you know you're just playing for placements, which is completely fine. Like a lost streak game where you had no direction at 2-1 that you turn into a 5th should be a W in your head. You still lose LP, but you know you can't win LP every game. Sometimes it's just about like salvaging your game, and that also includes like outplacing your contesters, for example. If you do happen to play a contested line, which you know usually you should try to play a line that's uncontested, but sometimes you can't. So if you're on a forecast line, like let's say this patch you're playing Yi Marauders, and someone else is also playing that, you are going to need at least 1 econ augment to be able to hit. That was like I remember double Casey double and set 15 when Star Guardians were so broken. He just always took. He sometimes took 2 econ augments. Even he took as much econ as possible, because when you know a comp is very strong, if you hit, the only thing you need is econ to actually hit. So yeah, econ is very very important for that. Excuse me. Let me take one sip because my throat is getting a bit dry. So that also feeds into the next point. What is my highest placement? You should try to like evaluate boards in like start of stage 4 is what I usually do. Where you look at everyone's spot, how much gold they have, how well they hit, how strong they are right now, right? Um, so like if someone is 0 gold with little upgrades and they don't even have like a lot of pairs, you probably know that they're not going to have much of a future for the rest of the game. So you can also grief people by doing that. Like if they are 0 gold and they haven't really hit anything, and you have a lot of gold, then you can just hold their forecasts because it's going to make their placement likely a lot lower, probably usually. So yeah, you should always try to like pay attention to the worst spots in the lobby and how you outplace them if you yourself are in a dire spot. Um, and yeah, you should also, as I said earlier, always think about like what bails me out here, what augment would be the best augment for my current situation. Sometimes that can be econ, sometimes that can be um like combat, sometimes that can be items. There's better augments for every situation. And you should also think about when and how deep you should roll because yeah, sometimes people make the mistake of like let's say they're 100 streak, right? They 11 streaked, and then at 4-2 they decide to level, and then they just roll to true 0 to try to hit their forecasts. But then if they miss and they lose the rest of the stage, and they can't go 9 anymore, you probably threw like a top 2 into a top 4 maybe. Um, like if you're high HP and you're uncontested on your comp, obviously if you're contested, you should be rolling quite a bit on 4-2. But if you're uncontested, it can sometimes even be beneficial for you to wait before you actually roll down because other people are going to buy out forecasts that you don't want. And if you're truly uncontested, you're going to hit better if you roll after they roll. So if you have the time to do that, I would recommend doing that for sure. Like you can do like a slight roll when you're playing forecasts from win streak, just to stabilize a little bit, get like the 1-star copies, and then after other people to take out more forecasts, you can roll some more if needed. Sometimes you can even just be stable on mostly 1-stars if your setup is good. Like if you streak the whole game, you probably picked a lot of combat power through your augments. So yeah, don't panic. When you don't have your forecast to start at 4-2, don't panic. If you have the time, you have the time. So all right. So lastly, we're going to get into how to figure out counters to the lobby. Some of these are pretty obvious. Like for example, Bramble Vest / Dragonclaw. You're going to want to look at, is the lobby mostly AD or is it mostly AP, or um, what is the ratio there, like how much AD, how much AP, and also which of those matchups are the worst for you. Like for example, comps that don't have the best front line struggle against melee matchups. So you're going to want a bramble vest in that situation, for example. Or yeah, if the lobby is a lot of AP, which was oftentimes the case last patch, I felt like Dragon Claw was like one of the best tank items. Um, so yeah, you should always before you make a frontline item like Bramble or Declaw, you should assess the lobby and see how much AD and how much AP there actually is. Another thing is if there's a lot of melee matchups in the lobby, like for example, as I said, Yi is pretty popular this patch, I think. Both Yi and Riven. And against those units, a big tank is going to be very, very good. Like for example, if you're playing Corki, a Rammus 2 with a Bramble Vest, a Crown Guard, and an Adaptive, for example, is going to be extremely durable against a champion like Master Yi or Master Yi and Kindred. Um, I played an exact game like that yesterday. So uh, yeah, you should always like think about what are the worst matchups for me, what do I need to win these worst matchups, and maybe it's just a lost cause, and then you should more like try to counter other players in the lobby. Um, so the next point is like when you're playing melee yourself, you also have to like figure out how to break the front line as fast as possible. Um, that means you need to make sure that you have Sunder. Usually you don't play Aatrox anymore on the melee boards unless you're fast 9. So you're going to need Sunder and anti-heal and damage items. That's why Giant Slayer is like the best item right now in the game. Yeah, you're gonna have to break front line as fast as possible and make sure that you're positioned that you can actually wrap the enemy backline. Um, what feeds into that are the Yasuo hexes from the Yasuo god. Before you place your own hexes, you should always look at where other people place their hexes, because usually what people do is they stack themselves on one side. So if they have like a backline hex in the right corner, and let's say an ice hex on the right side in front of their carry, you should be left side if you're playing melee. It is like that can be a really, really big deal. You should always try to be on weak side, and if their ice hex is on the right side, you should be left side. I think that makes sense, right? Um, so yeah, Yasuo hexes are important when it comes to like positioning and stuff. Um, so yeah, the next point is gods that can give combat power when others take HP/econ. If you're win streaking, you should try to take as much combat from the gods as you can. Like for example, the Yasuo hexes themselves, they give combat. Kale gives another component, so that is technically combat. Um, if you're like win streaking, you should try to preserve that streak and just don't think too much about econ, because if you keep winning, that you basically have the econ covered. So um, yeah, if you're win streaking, I would always try to, unless the gold makes you level early, I would always try to take combat. And on the other hand, if you actually can use the gold well, then you can also take resources from others when you can, like from or on the Evelyn and Ari gods, for example. When it's like Blood Pact, the one where you lose more HP the more people pick it, you can really, really deal some damage to the lobby if you take that, which is also good if you're win streaking. So that one can be useful to take. Um, and yeah, the Ari one where you split the gold can also be good to like take some resources away from the lobby if they really, really need gold. There's always going to be spots where you need gold more than the rest of the lobby, or the lobby needs the gold more than you. So just try to pay attention to that. All right. So this is the last slide. After that, I have two VODs that I'm going to go over to like showcase some of these points that I made. So good habits that you can actually make for yourself are don't slam before seeing your matchup. This is uh, this is like a really good habit to have, because sometimes there are cases where you just win the first 3 rounds without having to slam an item, and then you have more options on the god round of what component to take, and having more options is always better. So don't slam before you see your matchup, and if you think you need to slam, then of course slam. But like if you play 3 lost streakers, you're not going to need to slam, and then potentially you get rewarded in the god round. Yeah, this is like another one that some people don't really like to do. If you're committed to reroll at 2-1, call your comp. Some people perceive that as cringe, but I promise you, it will help you. Like giving information to the lobby that you're going to play X comp is important for them to know. As I said, information is key. You should have as much information about the lobby as possible. So if you call your comp, you give other people information, and they are not going to contest you, usually, at least, if they're smart, you know. Uh, yeah, next thing is check Stargazer and Psionic at the very start of every game. It's like the same thing as it used to be with Exotech in set 14, for example, or the Mirage, for example, Mirage variations. Um, or last set, there was something last set as well, but I already forgot. So yeah, as I said, you have different tools every game. You should like know all of your tools that you have. The psionic item mattered a lot for Victor last patch. This patch it matters mostly for Master Yi. Like the AD ones and the tank one are a lot better to go into Master Yi. The two AP ones are kind of dead in that line. So yeah, that's important to know no matter what. Just so that you know which stuff to stay open for. So yeah, just hammering home this point again. Don't level at 2-1 unless you are certain you will streak, because if you mix streak after leveling at 2-1, you are going to be extremely poor. And yeah, what you can do if you bought 4 is like skim through your VOD quickly and try to think rationally about whether you actually low rolled or maybe misplayed. Uh, this can be hard to do sometimes when you went 8th and you're mad and you look at the VOD and I was like, there's nothing I could have done. I just low rolled, but usually there is something you could have done, you know. So maybe take like a couple minutes off, like go away from your monitor. Come back after a couple minutes and then look at the VOD in peace. Or, you know, review it with a friend, ideally, or with your coach even. That would be ideal, of course. If you're not sure what you did wrong, I'm sure your coaches will help you out. Oh yeah, this one I already talked about on the last slide. But yeah, if you are high HP, don't roll to true 0. Unless you have multiple pairs to hit and you think you can actually hit. But otherwise, don't roll to true 0 when you should be chilling. Alright, I think this went longer than I expected. So I apologize. But yeah, I have 2 VODs that I want to look over to like showcase some of these points. Just to show some examples. Yeah, so this is the new region that I was talking about earlier. The 8 rerolls at 2-1. Let me speed this up a bit so we can get through it faster. So in this region, I was already well aware that most people will probably play 1 cost reroll. So I was basically like trying to hold all of the 1 cost line units and try to figure out what's best for me to play. I think Veigar is decent. I was mostly looking at like Leona Shepherd here with the bow drop, but that line is like always contested in this region, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, it's like not that easy to get into when everyone has 8 free rerolls. But yeah, I'm just holding like Lissandra pair, Timo pair here. I didn't hold Leona, so to be honest, I already didn't play this opener perfectly. But I think it's not really going to matter because everyone else or someone else already had a better Timo spot. All right. So one thing I also didn't say, but I think it was also already mentioned when someone talked about how to pick your augments. You should always have a default augment when you choose your augment. In my case here, my default augment is Frontline Foundation. This is kind of a comfort augment for me. I'm comfortable with playing around Bruiser Emblem, Bastion Emblem, even Vanguard Emblem. I think all of those are good. So since I don't really have an upgraded frontline here, and I have a Gargoyle to slam, I was just down for a 2-star frontliner here, and I get a Cho'Gath too. and it is the reroll region, and I have another Cho'Gath in shop, so this is the point where I like start thinking about if I should reroll Cho'Gath, and I already saw there's like a Veigar player that already used their roles or is using their roles right now. There's like 5 people with a full bench that are probably rolling right now. This guy has 6 Leonas, so this is what this region is, or this encounter is always going to look like in high elo lobbies. You should always, always, always reroll in this region. If you can't play 1-cost reroll, then try to find something else. Like 2-cost reroll is also perfectly fine. So yeah, everyone is already rolling. So I'm already rolling as well because Cho Ezreal is a scaling comp. You're going to want to get stacks early and snowball. It's kind of like Tristana in set 13, for example, where you need to collect stacks so that you're strong in stage 3. This comp is very similar. So yeah, I roll here. I hit 5 Cho'Gaths and 6 Ezreals by the end of my roll down. My components are fine. I have to make Gargoyle because that's the only good item I can make here. Kraken is not good on Ezreal. He needs caster items. I decide to make 10 here because the Lysandra is not important in this line. Also, it's contested by someone else, so I'm not going to 3-star that. So I just make 10 here, maximize my econ as we talked about. And yeah, I committed to my line at 2-1. I'm now maximizing my econ. I get a 2 streak here. Yeah, the rest of the stage is mixed streak, but it's okay because I load in at 3-1 with Cho'Gath 3, 2 off Ezreal 3. I think I hit the Ezreal a couple turns later. And then for the rest of the game, I'm just really strong because I was playing an uncontested line. I hit well. So this is a scaling comp, as I said. So stage 3, I still lost some fights. But then later on, I got stronger and stronger. I'm level 850 gold here, going towards level 9. And at the end of the game, I'm like 6 streak here, 7 streak, 8 streak, and I end up winning this game. So that is like a very specific case that only really makes sense in the new encounter. Where you get 8 rerolls. But yeah, I felt like because it's the new patch and some people might not know how to play this specific encounter, that might be useful. So game number 2 that I saved here. Let me speed it up. Alright, this is the last game, and after that we're gonna get into the patch. Alright, so I have some Primordian units here. I think Primordian is probably still one of the most consistent lines of the patch, if not the most consistent. So I just make 10 here because my 3 costs were not interesting, right? Rust and Samira are not usually 3 costs you're going to be playing around in stage 3. So I just made 10, held the Primordians, check my Psionic here, check the Stargazer. And my components are Belt and Rod. It's an econ opener, 2 components, and this is also one of the new encounters where you get your augments at 3-1, 3-2, and 3-3. So this is kind of an awkward region or encounter in my opinion. I think most of the new encounters are kind of weird like that. So I didn't have an opener, so I just decided to open. Go full loss. I managed to hit 3 Timebreaker at some point, get some free rerolls here. And then in 3-1, as I said, you should have a default line every patch. My default line this patch is Yi. So I go for Yi components here. Edge of Night. I think I end up making Even Shroud. The rod and the tier are a bit awkward, but it's salvageable. And then at 3-2, I get a restart mission, which I didn't perfectly play around for because I have like some shitter units here that I should not be rolling or holding. But it's still solid because my board is very cheap. I have saved up rerolls. I get a ton of upgrades from this to play for a strong board. I get a Kaiser 2. I get 3 Timebreaker back even. So I decide to level here because I think that I'm strong now, and I can potentially try to play for a win for the rest of this entire stage with this Kaiser 2. So, and when I win rounds, I make money through Timebreaker, so it's perfectly fine. Like I'm going to make the money back that I spent by leveling here. Unfortunately, I face someone who picked the sword augment and has an Ergot 2 naturaled, so I do lose to this guy. But I do win all the other fights this stage. So I saved up a lot of HP. I'm still level 750 here at 3-5. And at 4, I ascended at 4-1 this game actually because I think that I'm rich enough. There's a gold orb here with an item in it. So I level here. I have about 42 gold and 6 rerolls. So like 55 gold to roll. Which is honestly not that much considering I'm playing a 4-cost comp, but I really wanted to stabilize here. You know, I'm playing for placements. I lost streaked early game. I'm just rolling for anything here. So I make a Riven 2, which I think Riven 2 actually fits pretty well onto this like Master Yi board. If you hit Riven 2, you can just play her, save some HP, which is what I did this game. And then later I pivot to Yi 2 as soon as I hit. And I just play a Vex 1 here as my backline because I was 3-way contested in this lobby, unfortunately. So it's a good thing that I managed to build up my econ well enough to still hit some upgrades. So this game was a bit weird because it would have been a top 4 had it not been for the fact that Mr. Acid Fuego hit Nunu 3. So yeah, I would have gone fourth this game. Unfortunately, I did not scout for Nunu 3, so I went fifth. Which, as I said earlier, I think if you lost streaks and you go fifth, I think that's a win. So that's good enough for me. All right, that's it. Thank you for listening.